The Talai community is known in the annals of the Kenyan history as the political and religious leaders of the Nandi tribe. It is from their clan that the famous Lebons were born, such as Koitalel Samoei, King Lelimo Samoei, Baresian Arab Manyei, Kemnyolei Arab Turgat. The bearers of the title or Koyot in the Nandi community were more powerful, similar to the most powerful African kings in the ancient kingdoms, such as Mansa Kankan Musa, the king of Mali, who ruled between 1306 AD and 1332. Shaka Zulu of the Zulu community, King Pharaoh of the ancient Egypt, and Samod Ture, the king of ancient Sudan. Orkoyot was the key decision maker in the Nandi community. His word was a decree, and he had reserved powers such as overseeing political, religious, and military affairs of the Nandi kingdom. His position was monarchy. Successive leaders were drawn from the king's lineage. The existence of the Nandi tribe dates back to the beginning of 17th century AD. The history confirms that the Nandi people, a Kalenjin-speaking group, belong to the Nilo-Saharan language family, having blood links with the Kipsigis, Keyo, Marakwet, Pokot, Tugen, Terik, and Sapei or Sabot. But Christopher Koyoki, a Nandi elder who hails from the Talai community, alleges that the Talais do not possess Kalenjin blood, claiming their roots are freshly Maasais.
We were originally the Maasai. The Nandis did not have the Orkoik. Their Orkoik were Kamwaigei and others. So when we came in as Talai people, we brought the style of Libonism from the Maasai. We have been assimilated into the Nandi community as a clan. So we have a right to be Nandi because all the traditions that we perform in Nandi style. Although we trace our origin from the Maasai, we are now assimilated Nandis.
Mzee Koyoki, a Nandi elder, alludes that the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta was their brother, whom they separated during migration.
Kenyatta mwenyewe si Mkikuyu. Kenyatta mwenyewe alizaliwa hapa Londiani, hapa Kipkelio. Na mama ya Kenyatta ilikuwa Masai. Na yule alizaa Kenyatta ndio mzee anapoishi. Sasa unaona nguvu iko Central kwa sababu alipeleka mbegu ya maana huko. Naona uongozi pato inaendelea huko. Hata China yenyewe ya Kenyatta hakuna China ya Wakikuyu. Chomo ilikuwa naitwa Chumo. China Kenyatta ilikuwa Chumo. Alafu Wakikuyu sababu ilikuwa pato kuelewana, kutafsiri na kwa ngumu naitwa Chomo. Kenyatta Arabu Ligi alipatia masibi ya usianga. Hiyo si China wa Kikuyu. Kenyatta kwa Nandi naitwa Kenyatta, masibi ni Kenyatta. Sasa Kenyatta alivaa hiyo masibi, watu nasema Kenyatta mpaka naita Kenyatta.
Mama Jomo Kenyatta nyokabe mwenyewe anatoka family ya Sendeu. Sendeu sasa they are cousins of Koitalel somewhere from the Kabuso family and the Nana family in Masai.
But that is not all. Agui says the mantle of leadership was handed to the Talai community by the Almighty. and no one else among the clans of the Nandi. The Leibon or Orkoyot the king was highly respected. Others could describe him as a ritual expert, a religious head, or a political king who could wage wars with the neighbors for territorial expansion, organize cattle raids, or banish the lawbreakers from the kingdom.
Orkoyot Koitalel Somoe was a ritual expert. He was a functionary religious leader who was actually consulted in matters of raids, in matters of rain, in matters of when an intruder like the British came, he was being consulted, what are we going to do? That is why he organized the Nandis to resist against the British for almost 11 years.
The Nandi believed Orkoyot was sacred, and no man could approach him with weapons in his hands. Besides, his head was not to be touched, because by doing so, was believed that his powers was ngorset or injured, and the person will be struck dead. The Nandi's first Orkoyot, Kimnyole Arab Turgat, ruled with an iron fist, never lost any battle. The smell of his power made the neighboring kingdoms grow cold feet. The Luos, Pokot and Kipsigis were fed on tales of his wrath, burning them to the core.
Ilikuwa wezi upita Kipchoria kuleta ng'ombe ya Kipsigis. Ama Kipsigis wanakuja pande hii kuchukua ng'ombe yetu. Ilikuwa na laana. Lakini hapa Keyo na Pokot ngawa ni yetu, tulikuwa naleta ng'ombe yao.
The throne was highly guarded by the military Moran and the intelligence department, working hand in hand with his cabinet, known as Maotik, which played a key role of advisory to the king.
The work of the warriors, the Morans, were being sent on raiding expedition from the neighboring communities, because the Nandis used to believe that without cattle, you are nobody. Two was to protect their homesteads or the community as a whole in case there will be any invasion from the neighboring communities. So their work was to retaliate in case of any invasion.
As a visionary leader, he could foresee the impending danger and prepare his army of Morans. During battles, he could smell the defeat at his feet and retreat his soldiers. But as it is in the Holy Book, where Judah Iscariot sold off his master's trust to the enemies, the fate dawned in Nandi kingdom. Kimnyole Turgat was yoked with betrayal from the people he trusted, the people he fed and clothed, the people he defended by his blood-taking front line before the poisonous arrows shot by the enemies. He saw his killer poisonous arrow in his vision, an arrow shot by his own people, the people they shared ancestry, same blood and same bone. But before carrying his crucifixion cross, he had to prepare the heir of the throne among his sons.
Lakini alita watoto kwambia mimi nataka kwa sababu mimi naona Wanandi wametanganywa sasa, watakuja kuwa mimi na kuna kitu itakuja mbele. Mimi nataka kuje kuona. Akatengeneza kibuyu ya bombe, ile tireti inaitwa mtungi ya bombe na mrija yake, kuna mrija. Alafu akaita watoto yake, kila mtu alifanya kuja kuangalia. Akaanza mtoto ya kwanza, akaangalia hiyo mtungi iko na bombe kidogo, akaangalia vile bombe unajua ikiendelea hapo ikiipa. Akaangalia huyu mtoto wa kwanza anaitwa Boyshi, akaangalia akasema sioni chochote. Mtoto wa pili anaitwa Koilege, akaangalia haoni chochote. Mtoto wa tatu anaitwa Kibwigo, akaangalia haoni chochote. Mtoto wa nne sasa, huyu ni Koitale Somoe, the last born sasa. Akasema, baba, mimi naona vitu kama butterflies, colored. Mimi naona kama butterflies, na kuna kitu mimi naona kama nyoka. Kuna nyoka, kwa hiyo kitu naona nyoka, kuna nyoka itatoka hapa, na kuna colored butterflies. Mzee akasema, akasalamia yeye, asante sana. Akaambia wewe umepata kitu ile nakuja. Wewe umepita mitihani. Hao wengine walianguka mitihani.
Koitalel Arab Samoei, the last born of Kimnyole, was crowned as Orkoyot, but his father warned him that his own people would come for his head. A revelation that the bold, fearless Samoei did not bow to.
Ni mzee alikuwa anajua, alikuwa ameona, lakini alikuwa anataka kujua mtoto gani ataona. Huyu sasa the last born kwa Samoei ndiye alipita mitihani peke yake, akaona, akaambia huyu sasa inaitwa Wasungu. Wanatoka eastern side from Mombasa, na hawa watakuja kumaliza wewe, atakuja kuua. Why? Aliambia mimi nataka mtoke hapa Nandi, mtoroke. Wewe kwa Samoei, wewe utaenda Baringo, Tugen, hiyo ni site wa Baringo, na Elgeyo Marakwet tuongoza hawa. Paisha uende Kericho, Koilege muende hiyo site ya Kericho.
Just as it had been predicted by Kimnyolei, the Nandi took the life of Orkoyot by a single striking poisonous arrow.
Hata baba yake aliwa na Wanandi. Tukafanya cleansing. Baada ya hiyo Wanandi walisaliti baba yake. Wakati wanaume wanataka kwenda kuleta ng'ombe kwa Western, wanakuja kwanza kumusa na mzee. Na mzee Araptorga namwambia usiende, Maasai anatoka huko juzi, so usijaribu kwenda. Na Wanandi wakapika kifua, nasema tutaenda, kwa sababu wanaume ili iko na nguvu hawasikii maneno. Kama saa hii wazee wakiambia hawa usifanye hii, wanasema hapana, sisi najua, wacha sisi tuende. Wakaenda, wakamaliza. Baka saa ile watu wamekufa, wanachukua ile makosa yao, anaingiza kwa mzee.
The Talai elders termed it as an act of sacrilege, a curse that the Nandi had to pay with blood in the arms of the Europeans. The Orkoyot had the talent of prophecy on his lips, like the biblical prophets such as Elijah and Isaiah.
Huyu mzee Kimnyolei Arap Turugat alijua Wasungu kama pato kuingia nchi hii kwa mwaka 7.
Koitalel Arap Samoei, a masculine, dark-tall son of Orkoyot Kimnyolei Arap Turgat, the last-born son in a family of 5, was born with the leadership pulsating in his blood. Following his father's death, Koitalel had to break the vow he took never to return to the kingdom. Instead, he left his foster parents in Tugen to protect his rightful throne.
Koitalel Samoei kupika Baringo, Kabarnet, kupika Elgeyo Marakwet, kupika Bogota, akasema hapana, hapa ni mbaya, siendi. Akarudi Nandi, akabusa amri ya baba yake. Hasa hapo ndio akakuja kuambia, sasa umekataa kuambia hawa Nandi watakuja kumsaliti, they will betray you. So wakati Koitalel Samoei aliitwa hapa, kuna mtu alibetray. Nikirudisha wewe nyuma kidogo. Kuna mtu alienda kuongea na Wasungu, akaambia yule mtu atashika wewe hivi kwa salamia, atavuta mkono, anataka kuua wewe. Sasa wakatanganya mzungu mzee akatoa mkono yake hivi, akapiga risasi yule anasanya kuua Koitalel. Sasa vile baba yake alikwambia hao watakuja kuua.
So Samoei alikosea tu hapo peke yake. Kama ngetii maneno ya baba yake, hakuna mtu ngetawala sisi kwa hakika.
Like his late father, he appointed a cabinet of 12 members, each from the 12 clans of the Nandi. Apart from advisory, the cabinet was tasked to report all the happenings in their jurisdiction to the Orkoyot directly. Council had a special dressing code, the gorilla's hides, as a symbol of authority. The kingdom adopted the symbol of a lion, making it powerful, aggressive, and ruthless to the invaders. During his reign, Koitalel never lost any war, and this made the Europeans develop feeble feet whenever approaching the Orkoyot's territory. Mzee Koyoki and his fellow surviving Morans recalls how being a Moran was a do or die calling.
Wakati ya Samoei, mababu zetu walikuwa wakituma sisi kuchunguza mahali iko ng'ombe, alafu tuletee report wase wetu.
It is recorded in the history books that the two of the British traders, Andrew Dick and Peter West, had made inroads to the western part of Kenya. West arrived at Mumias on March 20th, 1895, and soon got into partnership with Dick, who had set up trading posts from the coast to the Lake Victoria with the intention of establishing dominancy and trade monopoly with the Nandi and the Luhya. On 23rd of June 1895, Dick had 3 rifles stolen by Kilekwa from his caravans, while one of West's men was murdered by the Nandi warriors. It is at this point Dick drew first blood when he held 2 Nandi warriors who had surrendered, murdered, and the war between the Nandi and the British began like petrol.
When West was trying to cross the Nandi territory with these Askaris, the Nandis killed the British West, and that was the start of the friction. It emanated from the killing of West. But later on, the Nandis invaded also the railway line, and that is why the British now had to take the charge and actually confronted the Nandis. That is when the war now began.
As Dick was busy negotiating the Nandi, West had pitched his tent few kilometers from the Nandi kingdom, trying to negotiate for ivory. His efforts were repaid at 2 a.m. on the morning of July 16, 1895, when the camp was raided by the Nandi warriors, and all but 8 of the expeditions were killed without a shot being fired. And now the British felt the pain of the thorn in the flesh, deploying battalions, putting the Nandi kingdom under siege.
We lost land, that is one. We also lost our leader, that is Koitalel Somoe. Now, our people were killed who were accompanying Somoe at that particular time. So they were killed. Now, another thing, we were forcibly evicted. The Nandi community were forcibly evicted to areas like the northern part of Nandi.
What followed was the massive massacre, repatriation, detention, and eviction of the Nandis, who were once a fearless kingdom, turned to a fragile prey to the ruthless British armies.
A British tactic of divide and rule, where these people were, the British indoctrinated the other Nandi communities to believe that these people were wizards, or rather they were witches. So they were supposed to be evacuated from the community of Nandi and set aside in a particular place. And this particular place where they were put had been known to have an epidemic which had killed some people. That is, the initiates who were circumcised died. 40 of them died when they were in seclusion. So when they were shifting them from the southern part of Nandi, they were being shifted so that they would perish in Kapsisiywa, because that place had been perceived to be a desolate area where there was an epidemic which was supposed to kill these people. But lucky enough, these people survived.
But Koitalel could not lose his grip of the throne. Using guerrilla tactics, he made the white men regret their decision of intrusion. A blood war that lasted over a decade.
The Nandis are very shrewd people, in the sense that they wage the guerrilla warfare, the style of hit and run. You see, it was not directly a confrontation, but they are very shrewd. At night, they know how to fight, the Nandis. So they would ambush the British during the night. So the war kept on because it was a guerrilla warfare where you eat the enemy and you don't directly confront. So the Nandis knew the tactics. And the advantage the Nandis were having was the geographical area, which was a rocky area, the hilly part of the Nandi hills. You know, they used to hide in those valleys and those hills. So the topography of the land gave the Nandis the advantage of resisting for a long time.
As Koitalel's father had predicted that his own flesh will sell him to his enemies, the time came.
You know, the British wanted to reduce the power. Where is the source of this power of the Nandis. And then they had to investigate, all right, that the power that is waging the guerrilla warfare is derived from the main Orgoyot. And therefore, finish this Orgoyot so that you can finish the Nandi community. You see, the Orgoyot was very vital for the people of Nandi because he was the central, the kingpin, the fulcrum of the people in terms of raiding, in terms of war. You see, he was being consulted. And therefore, kill him so that you dismantle the Nandi community.
After the British losing hundreds of his soldiers to the poisonous arrows of the Nandis, a level ground between the two antagonists was to be found. On October 19, 1905, Arap Samoei received a trickery notice, a meeting with the British Commissioner Richard Mainahagen for a truce.
It was on 19 mwezi wa 10 1905 saa 5 when the British called for a peace conference at Ketparak Hills, currently Nandi Hills. Ni vile wasungu walitanganya wa Nandi kiongozwa na my grandfather Koitalel Samoei kusema leo tutataka kufanya amani. So wakati huo Koitalel Samoei alikuwa amekitayarisha for peace conference au kwa sababu ya amani, akashika nyasi ile green kala kwa mkono yake na vijiti yake ya uongozi. Hiyo nyasi inaonyesha ni amani. Wakati hao walikuwa naongea, wakalete maskari yao, wakasingira wasee wakiongea, wasee wakifikiria ni wakati wa amani. So kumbe walikuwa natanganya huyu msee because of resistance.
The meeting was to be held in Ketparak Hills, currently Nandi Hills, in South Kapsisiswa Ward, Nandi County. 19th of October 1905 at 11 a.m. a resounding bullet was heard in the Nandi Kingdom. What followed was the silence. Koitalel Arap Samoei was pronounced dead, a British bullet that ended the warrior's life.
Colonel Richard Sergeant, who was the commander by that time from Kaptumo, where it was a colonial headquarters, wakakuja hapo na maskari kuongeza na somebody called Manning. Manning was General Manning, alikuwa commander wa jeshi wa British. Sasa wakati huo walikuwa naongea, alafu unajua hawakuwa ni nani Koitalel Samoei. Sasa wakaitwa Koitalel Samoei akuje mbele ndio salimiane na commander General Manning.
But the Nandi elders were against the scheme. The tough-headed Koitalel could not heed to the advice, not knowing a traitor within the kingdom had set a trap for him. Koitalel Arap Samoei had been advised not to shake hands because if he did, that would give him away as the leader. But he extended his hand and that was the end of him.
Wakapika risasi Koitalel Samoei hapa wakapika wakamaliza. Baada ya kumaliza Koitalel Samoei, mahali tajukua nyinyi muone mahali hao wasungu waliua, tajukua baada after here nitajukua nyinyi. Hapa wakapiga risasi kila mtu, wakapiga cabinet secretary yake, tunaita mauti, wakapiga security forces wake walikuwa wanaitwa Morans, Nandi warriors wakati huo walikuwa wanachukua Koitalel Samoei alikuwa na askari yake, walikuwa wanachunga yeye kama special allied forces vile tunaitanga Red Company. Hasa alikuwa na askari yake wa kuchunga msee. Wakapiga risasi wakaua hao watu, wakapiga risasi mother-in-law of Koitalel Samoei, Chemurungu, inaitwa Chemurungu family. Wakapiga mother-in-law risasi, huyo akatoroka akaenda akukufa kuenda mbali.
As it is in the narrative of betrayal in the city, Kimnyolei and his son Samoei were betrayed by his tribesmates during the colonial period.
At that particular time, there was confusion because Samoei had been killed and their people were to disperse because there was no a leader, the central, the kingpin of the people who was supposed to organize the rebellion. Yeah.
So that's the reason why.
That is why the Nandi had to, their hearts melted when the male Orgoyot was killed.
It is close to 100 years after the slaying of the Nandi's legend. The curse of betrayal pronounced by Orkoyot Kimnyolei Arap Turgat upon the Nandi has lasted for over a century. The elders have tried to invoke the late Turgat's forgiveness, but it did not end well. The scars of the colonial rule among the Talai clan of the Nandi community continue soaring. For the survivors, they keep on repeating and recalling the torture among the community that was ventured just to distance them from the rule.
Amen.
In our next episode, we focus on the impact of Koitalel's decision and the lifelong scars that follow the wrath of the British rule, which lasted for 4 generations of the Koitalel Arab Samoei.
Sasa hawa watu wakachukua mashamba yetu, wakachukua kila kitu, Wanandi wakapigwa risasi wakaenda kabisa mbali. Kila mtu akasema sasa nyinyi mnataka muende reserve.
Si baba yangu walikamatwa nilitutuka sana. Hata mimi nilikuwa iko shule na kawaja na kuja kupata hii.
Wale wazee wote ambao walikuwa huko walifika tu na kufariki kwa sababu walikuwa na shida mingi.
Mimi sikusoma, watoto yangu hawakusoma, makao hatukupata makao mazuri.
As the historians say, heroes die once, but their legacy live forever in the history books. Koitalel Arab Samoei was a fighter, a defender, a warrior, a fearless leader who walked out every morning and in the darkest in the nights was there to defend the community. But those who are called the colonialists or the British came in to silence the leader, was out to protect the innocent and the feeble families of the Nandi. But the cry continues, where is the justice? For Culture Quest, I'm Levis Msumba.
No.